The old family home carried the scent of fresh rain and furniture polish. Every summer, I would sit beside my grandfather on the front porch, listening as he shared stories about building that house with his own hands. He would always grin and tell me, "Someday, Elena, this house will keep you safe when life turns harsh." Back then, I trusted every word. But when Grandpa passed away, everything shifted. My parents stopped mentioning him altogether. They packed away his photographs into storage boxes as if he had never been part of our lives. And whenever I brought up the inheritance he had promised me, my mother's expression would harden. "Stop being selfish," she snapped one evening while standing at the sink washing dishes. After that, I stopped asking. 3 years later, I returned from work on a stormy evening and stopped dead in my tracks when I saw strangers walking through Grandpa's house alongside a real estate agent. A chill ran through me. "Mom, what's going on?" My father refused to meet my eyes. "We sold it," he said quietly. My entire body went numb. That house legally belonged to me, yet somehow they had sold it without ever telling me. What they didn't realize was that I still possessed something important. Grandpa had left me one last document, and I still had it. That night felt like a nightmare. Rain hammered against the windows while my parents sat calmly at the dining table as though they hadn't just destroyed everything that mattered to me. "You had no right," I whispered. My mother let out an exaggerated sigh. "Elena, stop pretending you're the victim. We needed the money." "For what?" Silence. Then my younger brother came downstairs wearing a brand new gold watch. That answered my question. They had sold Grandpa's house to cover his gambling debts. I actually laughed in disbelief. "You sold Grandpa's house for this?" Suddenly, Dad lost his temper. "Your brother is family. So was Grandpa." The room fell silent. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them see me cry. Then my mother said something that broke a part of me forever. "You weren't going to do anything with that house anyway. You're just a single woman with no future." Those words hurt even more than the betrayal. I grabbed my bag and headed into the storm. But just before I left, I heard my father whisper nervously, "What if she finds the document?" My heart nearly stopped. They knew exactly what they had done. Part 3. The paper hidden inside the piano. I spent the following week alone in my tiny apartment, barely eating and barely sleeping. Every night, I heard Grandpa's words echoing through my mind. "This house will keep you safe." At first, I thought he had failed. Then I remembered something strange. A month before he died, Grandpa had called me into the music room and rested his wrinkled hand on the old piano. "If they ever betray you," he whispered, "look inside." At the time, I assumed his illness had made him confused. Now I understood he had been warning me. The next morning, I drove back to the empty house before the new owners arrived. Dust drifted through the dim rooms. The silence felt eerie. My hands shook as I opened the piano. Nothing, at least at first. Then my fingers brushed against an envelope taped beneath a wooden panel. My name was written across it. Inside was a legal document signed by Grandpa himself. My breath caught as I read the opening line. "I leave complete ownership of this property solely to my granddaughter, Elena Rivera." My parents had absolutely no legal authority to sell it. But the final page revealed something even worse. Someone had forged my signature, and I already knew who was responsible. I went straight to the attorney listed in Grandpa's documents. An older woman named Mrs. Bennett carefully adjusted her glasses while examining the paperwork. When she finished, she looked at me in shock. "Your grandfather went to great lengths to protect you," she said softly. My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" She pulled another file from her cabinet. "Elena, your grandfather revised his will 6 months before he passed away." My stomach sank. "Why?" She hesitated before answering. "Because he discovered your parents were secretly taking loans against the property." I felt nauseated. But then came the true horror. Mrs. Bennett slid a photograph across the desk. It showed my mother signing paperwork beside a man I immediately recognized, a loan shark connected to my brother's gambling debts. "They were desperate," the lawyer whispered. "Your grandfather tried to stop them." Suddenly, every strange memory clicked into place. The arguments, the missing money, the tension that always lingered inside the house. Then I noticed something else inside the file. A recorded statement from Grandpa. With trembling hands, I pressed play. His weak voice filled the room. "If you're hearing this, Elena, they betrayed you." I broke down crying right there in the office. But Grandpa still wasn't finished protecting me. The courtroom felt ice cold. My parents wouldn't even glance in my direction. Behind them, my brother sat nervously tapping his foot while reporters whispered throughout the room. The forged signature case had become a local scandal almost overnight. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of them. The judge silently reviewed the documents. Then my mother suddenly stood up, crying. "We did it for the family." I nearly laughed. "For family," I said quietly. "You destroyed Grandpa's final wish." Dad pointed at me furiously. "You're humiliating us." "No," I replied, clearing my throat as my voice trembled. "You humiliated yourselves." Then Mrs. Bennett played Grandpa's recorded message for the court. The entire room fell silent. Even the judge appeared emotional as he listened to Grandpa's weak voice pleading for my future to be protected. My mother's expression completely crumbled. And finally, the verdict arrived. The sale of the property was ruled illegal. The house legally belonged to me once again. But I wasn't finished, because there was still one final choice left for me to make. 3 months later, I stood alone on Grandpa's porch, watching the setting sun turn the sky gold. The house was peaceful again. No yelling, no lies, no betrayal. After the fraud investigation, my parents lost nearly everything. My brother vanished to another city, trying to escape the debts he owed. And truthfully, I no longer hated them. Some wounds become too heavy to carry forever. I restored the house little by little. Grandpa's piano remained exactly where it had always been. Sometimes, late at night, I still reach beneath it and touch the hidden compartment, remembering the moment everything changed. One evening, Mrs. Bennett came to visit. "You know," she said with a gentle smile, "your grandfather would be proud of you." I looked around the porch, tears filling my eyes. For years, I believed the inheritance was simply a house. But Grandpa's real gift wasn't money at all. It was the proof that someone truly believed in me when nobody else did. And for the first time in my life, I finally felt safe.